Now, it's pretty often you've probably seen in this channel where a sitcom's episode premise seems a little like another sitcom's episode premise. That's because there's only so many unique ideas that work on sitcom format on television. But it's not every day that three shows not only do the same idea, but almost the same scene structure and climax. So today I've pulled together three episodes of tween television that seemingly do almost the exact same plot. You'll notice a lot of key differences, a lot that come with character, and the things that make it unique. Figure out the similarities and differences together. I just like the idea of comparing and contrasting this, because it's like, why at that age did we need to know this? Like, did we all do this? What's up, everybody? It's Johnny 2000, covering TV, music, movies, media, and so much more from the 2000s. If you really like the 2000s, don't forget to subscribe, because we go over a lot of fun old nostalgic content. So these episodes all revolve around one of the dumb characters trying to appear smart. Whether it's to impress a girl or a guy, it just seems like it's focused on relationships. For Wizards of Waverly Place, we have Season 2, Episode 1, Smarty Pants. For Sweet Life, we'll have Season 2, Episode 1, The Odd Couple. And Drake and Josh, Smart Girl. I couldn't possibly put one of these episodes without talking about the other. And the fact it happens over 3 episodes means we really gotta look into this. So let's go over each episode and then kind of break it down. Let's start with Zack and Cody. We start at the Tipton, and we get a glimpse into their room for a really extended amount of time. I'm not actually used to seeing it this much. They're bickering in a way that kind of reminds me of Two and a Half Men.
She'll be ticked, and I am not. Repeat, not. Not.
If you see the way these guys argue, it just feels a lot like it. Cody wants to keep the room clean, and Zack just doesn't care. And when their friends come over to play their game, Cody is a lot more of a host than Zack is. They end up in constant disagreement, with their friends even getting in the middle of it.
I'm not gonna have you guys playing Total World Conquest if it leads to fighting. Okay, that sounded odd.
And in this one, Zac Efron actually plays a genius. This is a lot like the Drake and Josh episode Smart Girl, where Drake wants to appear smart to impress a girl. And in this episode, London is trying to appear smart to impress a guy. And it's Troy Bolton.
Saturday? Do you like modern art?
Oh, I liked anybody named Art, and I don't care how old they are.
And he's a genius, and Zac Efron's actually pretty good at playing a genius. I actually didn't watch High School Musical before I watched Sweet Life, and I thought he was actually like this. I don't know why. Which is funny, though, because London actually does what Justin does to her in the Sweet Life on Deck crossover. Yeah, do you guys remember that? In the Sweet Life crossover, Justin pretends to be smart to impress London Tipton. And it doesn't work. Maddie and London are essentially the Drake and Josh episode. This plotline is just completely that. The argument escalates so much that Cody threatens to move out, but not out of the apartment, into the closet, just not in Zach's room, which is a really funny concept.
The coat closet!
I miss him already.
Maddie helps London try to impress this guy by giving her a chip so she could speak into her ear, and this is exactly like the Drake and Josh episode.
So what's your favorite class?
Upper.
That's a great one, if you can get into it.
London thinks it's an actual chip and throws it in her mouth, which is really funny. Meanwhile, Cody is having the time of his life, apparently, in this 6x6 closet, which is hard for me to believe. When Zach's trying to play with his friends, they're almost uninterested in hanging out because of how much fun supposedly is going on in Cody's closet. Which, how? One by one, they ditch Zach to go hang out at Cody's, which is fair because, Zach, you do not keep the room clean. Sorry. London's attempts to impress Zac Efron fail as he keeps talking about anti-environmental stuff and Maddie becomes angry. Like, obviously, they get into a big fight and end up kissing, which I don't know why London wouldn't be super angry at this. Like, this is your date and it's kissing Maddie and you're just casual about it?
Wow, didn't see that coming. Boy, I wonder what they'd do if they liked each other.
Meanwhile, Zack tries to confront Cody, but he sees how cool his room is. And also at the same time, they have like the maid service and the cleaning lady all come in as if it's like his own room. And this bit is super funny, where constant people are coming in. I don't know, this joke is just really classic. I haven't really seen it done in other shows, like making such a small place fit so many people, but it's genius. Eventually, Zack gets kicked out and has to do a gesture to Cody to get him back. He cleans up the entire room, and Cody is moved, and therefore he moves back. Okay, so that was Sweet Life. Let's move on to Smart Girl from Drake and Josh.
You know the closet in the hall?
The hall closet?
That's the one.
So at the premiere, while Josh is at work, Drake takes a liking to a girl named Michelle. Josh claims that there's no way he's gonna get her interested in him because she's smart, which I would be kind of insulted.
Maybe I got a little more game than you think. Hey, it's for a good cause.
The idea that you can't date within your brain class means that I definitely would never have been on a date ever. But Drake is determined. Candy on the floor on purpose for her to help him pick him up. It actually works, and Drake is managing to smooth talk Michelle. He tries to ask her out for pizza, but apparently she has academic team practice.
I love grammar jokes.
Oh, yeah, me too. I too. Me also.
I guess I never realized how stupid Drake was until this specific scene. It's not even like this girl is acting like she's smart, it's just Drake is acting so dumb. I feel like it gets worse for him over the series, though. Later, Megan plays a prank on Josh where she puts whipped cream on his face. Josh is so fed up with the way Megan treats him, which I would be too. Can you imagine living in a house where you become the butt of somebody's pranks all the time?
I will get my revenge.
Yeah, nice speech. But just remember, Josh, I'm always one step ahead of you. One step ahead.
Josh vows to get revenge on her, which good luck, Josh. Drake announces that he's going to accidentally run into Michelle again, which is stalkerish. Drake, if you really wanted to form a relationship with this person, I don't think you should be so manipulative. Ugh, but it works. He pretends he walked out of the same movie as her and tries to talk to her about it, but obviously he can't.
Did you see the same movie I saw?
Oh, yeah, Beautiful Mucus?
Bountiful Music?
Uh-huh.
She agrees to go out with him and says she wants to explore his mind.
She wants to explore your mind? So how long do you think it'll last? Like 45 seconds?
So Drake's paranoid because, of course, when she starts to talk to him, she's gonna realize how dumb he is. So he's determined to figure out a way he can appear smart. While Josh is trying to prank Megan, filling the hallway closet with a bunch of laundry. Meanwhile, she gives him a fake ice pop that explodes in his hand. Always one step ahead.
Yeah, like I'd ever give you the last ice pop.
Josh decides to help Drake and actually teach him as much as he can in order to impress Michelle. Drake is a terrible student, which is not surprising, and keeps distracting Josh.
See, but no way, that's awesome. I know. You see, learning can be really great. Hang on a second. Dude, Trevor got another pet cobra. He's gonna make them fight each other.
This is like the perfect representation of these guys' dynamics. Like, Josh is essentially like a substitute teacher and Drake is a resentful student. Josh realizes he could teach Drake through guitar, which actually helps him learn the information, which is awesome. Oh my gosh, I wish they did this in real school. So Drake goes on the date and still doesn't have a lot of information to work off of, so he keeps finding excuses to go ask Josh questions she's asking him. Oh my gosh, can you imagine? That is the rudest date ever.
What do I like about him? Oh, there's so many things. His use of social satire. Thanks. Social satire.
So Drake thinks they're about to kiss. Turns out she's asking him to join the academic team. See, if this were a real sitcom, this girl would be really religious, and Drake would be trying to fake a religion to get to know her, because that's the only thing I could see translating to an adult life. So yeah, Drake's freaking out, because not only is he going to be embarrassed in front of her, but the whole school if he does this academic thing. He insists that Josh help him through the competition, but Josh is like, there's no way.
I wear a really big coat. What? Sorry, Lucy. Ethel ain't playing.
Josh, meanwhile, is trying to throw a water balloon of goo at Megan, and she gets to him first. Once again. Drake finds a bug in their room to find out how Megan is getting away with her pranks. Turns out she's listening to everything they're saying.
It's a bug. Kill it. No.
Drake gets an idea that maybe they can use this device for Josh to give Drake the answers during the mathalon. Poor Josh never defeating Megan, like this is so sad. So Josh is waiting in the broom closet and is feeling terrible because Drake has asked him to go against his own morals.
I helped you when you got your foot caught in the toilet. No, you didn't. You laughed and took digital pictures.
It's funny that he's not like willing to do this, like the defiance throughout this makes it even more exciting. And it turns out the guidance counselor from Victorious is the MC of the academic bowl, which is awesome.
2364?
I'm sorry, but that year hasn't happened yet.
Josh manages to help Drake look better and better, answering all the questions right until they start getting radio feedback from a nearby fast food joint. This aggravates not only the team, the host, but the entire crowd as Drake yells out nonsense. But this is definitely one of the funniest parts in the show. It does remind me of when Josh was trying to impress a girl and Drake had to go behind him and play guitar. But clearly Drake being in this situation is a lot funnier. Craig and Eric make a return, and they are so funny. I love how, like, intense they are about the academic bowl. Like, you would expect that, but it's funnier.
We've been talking, and we would appreciate it if
you could just keep your big bazoo shut.
Later, the team actually asks Drake to stop answering questions because of how much he's embarrassing them. But when they get another question that nobody knows the answer to, Drake answers and wins them the game, causing everybody to be super excited, except for Drake, because he is not completely heartless. Michelle to the broom closet to explain everything he did and how embarrassed he is, and she's just impressed that he was trying to impress her. Which is like, you're not gonna tell the judge? Later, Drake and Josh reconvene and talk about how they're going to eventually get Megan back, but they end up glued to the chairs, so good luck, guys. And yeah, so that was Smart Girl. And the next episode, of course, has smart in its title. Smarty Pants. So Jerry's away at a wizard conference, so Teresa's in charge of teaching wizardry. She gets frustrated pretty easily and hands the reins over to Justin.
That's it! I quit! Justin, it's all yours!
They focus on Smarty Pants, the enchanted piece of wizardware that allows the user to gain in-depth knowledge about any subject instantly. Meanwhile, Max notices a long line of students waiting at a particular water fountain, and apparently the water is really amazing. I don't know how water tastes really good.
Now that is some fine H2O!
So Max and his friend Alfred decide to bottle the water and sell it at school, convinced they can make a profit. Meanwhile, Harper is thrilled to join the Quiz Bowl, hoping to build a new reputation as the girl with brains, rather than just the fashion dynamo, which nobody actually thinks. Alex supports Harper's ambition, especially when she discovers that her crush, Dean, is helping set up the Quiz Bowl in the school gym.
Looks like I'll be helping set up the gym for Quiz Bowl this year.
So far, by the way Dean acts, he seems like some sort of Danny Zuko. I don't know if you guys have seen Grease, but I don't know, he's like kind of like an Italian version of that. But she's in a bit over her head when it comes to wiring the buzzers. Her mishap results in Nellie, one of Harper's teammates, getting a shock.
Does anyone else's hair feel hot? Don't look at me. I'm a girl. I was just making posters.
Causing her to drop the quiz bowl. Without Nellie, Harper's team faces disqualification, which would automatically hand the victory to Justin's team. But when Alex realizes it's Justin's team, she decides to be Nellie's replacement and help Harper.
Alex, you got a D in lunch.
Ooh, ouch! That hit me back! Oh!
Alex recalls the earlier lesson about the smart pants and decides to actually break them out. At the Russo family sub shop, Max and Alfred start to bottle the fountain water, carrying it to school in containers and selling it to high demand.
We know you have a lot of choices for your fountain water. We're glad you chose us.
Zeke points out that their plan is flawed because the students don't have to wait in line and can get the original fountain water for free.
Hey, there's no line here now!
Hey guys, when we're done with these, we can use our empties to fill up at the fountain for free.
Real smart, Max. At the quiz bowl, Alex puts on the smarty pants and turns her into a walking encyclopedia.
What did we say, Zeke? If it's a guess, it's a mess.
The game begins, and she answers every question in the first round with ease, leaving Harper feeling sidelined. Harper, who not only wants to impress the school with her smarts, is hurt by Alex's behavior and confronts her during the break.
Harper! Harper! Are you kidding me? Would it hurt you to play along? Really? Really?
Alex didn't realize, so she promises to let Harper take the spotlight in the next round. Teresa has a talk with Max about why he's selling bottled water from the fountain, and her advice is to give it more value.
Portable. You can take it somewhere and drink it whenever you want.
Oh, sort of like those little puppies that you can fit in your purse?
No, nothing like that.
I don't know what the lesson in this subplot is. Justin, as a detective, somehow narrows down what Alex
Since when did you become such a smarty pants? Smarty pants! You're totally wearing smarty pants!
But in the next round, Alex finds it challenging to hold back and eventually breaks her promise, jumping to answer the questions. Harper becomes frustrated, decides to leave, and is betrayed by Alex's insistence on winning. But seeing Harper's reaction makes Alex rethink her action, and she finally removes the smarty pants in front of everybody. Guys, you can't do that. You're gonna end up in a charge. And it's so disturbing because since she wore the pants so long, her legs are skeletal. Which, I don't know why that was necessary, but it's kind of cool. She and Justin hastily exit the gym, hoping to avoid further embarrassment. Harper comes in to thank Alex for leaving because Nellie was able to come back and she was able to get the final question. Max listens to his mom about adding value to the water bottles and gives out puppies with the water, which that's kind of smart, Max.
Don't think I want a puppy.
I'm adding value. If you don't take it, it's a ripoff.
Now that we've reviewed all these episodes, for the sake of discussion, let's just cut out the B-plot, like Zack and Cody's closet scenario, Max's water selling business, or Josh's fear of Megan, which actually does wrap into the main plot, which already gets a point. In terms of love interest, we have Zac Efron for London, being this smart genius, a smart girl named Michelle from Drake and Josh, and the main love interest, Dean, from Wizards. Something weird that Sweet Life and Wizards had done is make it their season 2 premiere, like specifically season 2 first episode. They had to, for some reason, cover the topic of a dumb person acting smart, which is kind of specific, but I mean, it's both Disney, so that would explain that. In Drake and Josh, Josh actually tries to teach Drake how to be smart, with him slacking off most of the time. But in the Sweet Life episode, London doesn't really have a second where she tries to learn the knowledge, and Maddie doesn't really try to teach her. Sweet Life and Drake and Josh actually have a super big plot point in common, is the smarter person tries to whisper in the ear of the dumb person. Like, Maddie gives London an earpiece while she's on the date, and Drake constantly runs over to Josh at the premiere to try to get answers to her questions. But the similarities switch to Wizards and Drake and Josh, where those two are having a competition based on being smart. Alex consistently gives the right answers in her competition, and so does Drake, leading to both of the teams' resentment for the main character taking the spotlight too much. Meanwhile, London's only really on a date. It's further than the other characters have gotten with the love interest. But Sweet Life's twist of Maddie and Zac Efron hooking up during it is a lot more creative. Like, imagine Josh ended up getting with Michelle. In Wizards, we don't have a succinct conclusion to why Alex needed to be smart, because she was never really dumb, and that's the difference between all the characters. Like, Drake is noticeably dumb, so is London, but Alex is more cunning and secretive. I don't really see her having a need to be smart. Drake and Josh is the only one that weaved the B-plot into the A-plot, with Josh being scared of Megan, but then finding a bug in their room, which is the same bug that they use as an earpiece in the competitions they have. I feel like Drake and Josh does the best job because of that fact, that they didn't have a sideline plot that distracted us from the main plot. And also, they had a little bit of Sweet Life and Wizards and did it in their own way, having most of the conflicts of both episodes tied into it. So I'm gonna have to give this one to Drake and Josh, but it is a weird coincidence that it happened to be the season premiere of season 2 specifically in both Sweet Life and Wizards. It's also weird that it's in season 2 of Drake and Josh. Like, I know it's the 6th episode, but this is weird too. Anyway, I hope you guys notice these similarities as much as I do, so I'm not crazy. If you noticed anything more from these 3 episodes that I missed, definitely comment below. I'm curious what you guys have seen from this. So it's interesting when 2 shows share a lot of similarities, not only with the characters, but with its tone, its jokes, and so much more. Normally you would excuse this as, oh, it's the same writers, it's the same creator, it's like all these things. But it's really a lot more than that. It's like a crew of like 50 to 100 people on 2 different shows that are good and bad at different things. Zoey 101 being great at its story structure and character arc, but horrible in its tone of being a drama over comedy, not knowing what to do with the characters after they develop them. And Victorious, where there's no structure at all, usually, with characters not afraid to go out of their already written personality. And you could argue for both ones being really successful. And they were. Like, both shows were Nickelodeon's, like, golden shows. So I want to kind of dive into how similar these pilots are, because it's almost insulting if you watch them back to back, like I did. What's up, everybody? It's Johnny 2000, and today we're going to be diving into some of the 2000s pilots, Victorious and Zoey 101. So let's get into this. Okay, for the pilot of Zoey 101, we have Welcome to PCA. Fairly simple title. It starts off with the blonde family driving down the Pacific Coast Highway.
You can't hold it for just 5 more minutes?
I've got 20 ounces of water and a 10-ounce bladder. Stop the car!
We don't really get a feel for the kids' personalities, which is going to be a recurring issue, as you'll see. The dad's worried about dropping him off, and we meet Chase as he hits a flagpole on a bike. He says he'll show them around, but at first the dad doesn't trust him, and then he just gives away his daughter to this random teenage boy, which is pretty accurate for parents of the 2000s.
Wanted me to walk you there.
No, that'd be great.
We essentially get like a tour of PCA, and it seems really awesome. I feel like the whole aesthetic of the show is what sells it. This whole private boarding school idea. And even though Dustin looks a little young to be a part of it, it's still exciting if you're a kid and want to live on your own. It's very cheesy and comical. There's a urinal in their bathroom.
That's the matter. This is a girls' dorm, and that is clearly not for girls.
Which is a natural way to kind of talk about how PCA was all boys at first, and it's only been this year that they announced all girls. We essentially get a moment with each character learning about Dana being this tough to deal with.
That one. But that's my stuff. That'll be moving.
Nicole is this boy crazy girl.
Except use those urinal thingies, which apparently they don't sit on.
Zoe is the most blank person I've ever seen. She is perfect to project onto because she is exactly what every episode needs her to be.
Oh no, that's my bud Jim. What's up, Jim?
What's up, Jim? I like Jim.
Yeah, Jim's good people.
She sees that the guys are playing basketball and wants to join, but they meet Logan, who says they can't join because they're girls. Exactly what you would expect to when you walk into a dormitory like this.
Good.
Friday?
Why not?
You're on.
See you here.
Want to make out?
No.
Zoe ends up challenging him to a game, girls versus boys, but none of the girls are into it, and they're kind of annoyed that she signed him up for that, which I would be too, Zoe. Like, I don't have to play sports. They're pretty set that they won't win, but they try it anyway, which is bold enough for me.
And the game's not so frightening. So we're gonna practice hard and we're gonna win.
The game is really funny. We get like a little glimpse of each of the girls, and Logan plays dirty and actually pushes Zoe over, which sucks because apparently Zoe ends up getting back in the game and being really good at it. How? Meanwhile, her brother Dustin is watching but too embarrassed to cheer for the girls, but gets over it by the end, which is really sweet. After the girls lose, you think it's like a negative ending, but then the coach is like, yeah, we should definitely have girls on the team because of how good they are.
Coach, are you seriously gonna put a girl on our team?
Hey, you catch on quick for a guy.
Which is a good ending. I don't know why all the adults in this show are blonde so far, though. You can't argue that that's building the world. The boys show up to their celebration party, and it becomes a lot more about unity between boys and girls, which is a really good premise. It sucks where the show goes from here. They end up decorating the urinal, and it kind of looks like a shrine in a really religious way, but I do think it's very cute. The overall message, like never quit and girls could be just as good as boys, is a really strong premise for a pilot. Like, this pilot is really strong. Does it compare to the other teen shows? Honestly, I think this is a lot better. If you only showed me this pilot, I'd be like, wow, this is a really promising show. It definitely became more of a Flanderization of itself and or too quirky to actually follow a plot, let alone its original premise of girls attending a boys' dormitory. But I feel like when we actually lean into that premise is when the show is at its best.
What's this?
It's cool that they have this whole thing about Zoe wanting to be on the team, but the fact that this never comes up again in the season is kind of weird. I feel like the show would have been a lot stronger if it was more about her trying to be involved in sports and dealing with the sexist issues of the place, but at least we still kind of keep that through line. With Victorious, they have a kind of similar structure. In a broad scope of things, it's a girl going to a new place, feels way over her head, fish out of water, even down to the big showcase in Tori, where she inevitably succeeds in her showcase, but doesn't necessarily want to go to the school. And Zoe wants to be on the basketball team, but doesn't succeed at the game. It's a really good pilot structure of having a loss and a win in the same episode to kind of see what the characters would do in both scenarios. And I don't know who paid for this soundtrack, but the song playing in the basketball scene is like super expensive. I don't know why you would pick that. I like that there's a little bit more backstory in Zoey 101 as opposed to Hollywood Arts is just kind of a school with arts kids. Like, there's no conflict, there's nothing that they're actually walking into. Yet in PCA, it's previously been an all-boys school. I feel like Zoey 101 leans more toward drama, but this is what bugs me. It's so much more comedic in its plot structure to be a drama. Like, they act like they have to take these elements seriously, but they don't really bring them up or make them a huge part of the plot. They just want the characters to be in these specific situations. And since they're not like comedic based, they're just kind of like basic storylines, as opposed to like Victorious, who commits to the location and talks about acting and singing, and that's the whole point of the school. It's like an art school. And since it's a comedy, I guess it feels more free to make wacky plot lines, which just shows me that Zoey 101 should have just been a comedy. They should have just committed to it, instead of trying to give this serious plot lines with funny characters. I just don't understand why they're so similar. At the beginning of Victorious, we see Tori Vega and this random guy. Who is this guy? He like never comes back, even as a background character. And Tori's like quirky right off the start. She starts talking about this big showcase at Trina's school, and she arrives, and she's kind of like Dustin. She's like the brother or sister character, except Trina's a lot more negative. These characters in this show are really negative, as opposed to Zoey 101. At least they have an empathetic place to start with, and they're brought together by a common goal of like getting girls comfortable in this new boarding school. While Hollywood Arts, like, it's kind of all for yourself and nobody's helping Tori except for Andre. Andre and Tori have such good chemistry. Like, I wish the show was kind of more about their duo relationship. Like, I don't know why it needs to be about Tori so much. Trina kind of reminds me of Logan's part in the pilot, where at first it's kind of like the enemy, but inevitably gives in. But like, Trina remains the motivation for Tori to prove herself and wanting to get into Hollywood Arts. Same thing with Zoey wanting to prove herself that she belongs at PCA with Logan. Tori fills in for Trina when she's sick at this big showcase and proves that she's a really talented artist, despite the fact that she's not as weird as everybody else. Which is weird because it's like, oh, she's relatable because she's normal and everybody else in the world is weird. I don't know if that's a good premise. So while Victorious has the big showcase, Zoey has the basketball game where the main characters have to prove themselves. I feel like Victorious is kind of like the Zoey 101 pilot fit into just the first act and using the rest of the episode to show us around Hollywood Arts, unlike Zoey 101, which is the opposite. We see PCA at first, then we have the big basketball game, which is the conflict. Victorious is a little bit stronger because it throws you into the action and then kind of like unravels the explanations, as opposed to the early story structure where it's like, oh, you have to walk through this person's day and one by one introduce every character and do this before you actually get into things. The closest part to Victorious having a grounded moral is when Tori asks if she's not good enough. And it's like, I wish she had like more vulnerable moments like this, because then it's just wacky after it. Like, Zoey 101 is good at having those vulnerable moments, character-driven scenes where Zoey is trying to fit in, cares about her friends and or the people around her, as opposed to Victorious, which does not do any of that. Like, and the scene where Tori is challenged by Jade. Like, they do an improv class, and she feels horrible about this, and Jade just makes it worse. And all the characters seem kind of parallel to each other in a way that, like, you wouldn't expect until you're watching this back. Like, Zoey is 100% like Tori Vega because they're just bland people with basic goals that kind of set up the structure for everybody else to be weird and funny. And while it works for a comedy like Victorious, it's a little less appealing for a drama like Zoey 101, where you really gotta follow the character. And Zoey doesn't really stick to a lot of her personality traits. Dana is exactly like Liz Gilly's character, Jade, where it's just this like heartless character that you get a glimpse of who they really are all the time.
Look, I wanted my own room, but they said I'm required to share, so I guess I'm stuck with you two.
Hey, I read on the internet that coffee works great for getting rid of fur bugs.
Maybe you shouldn't, Jade.
And Nicole is exactly like Kat, but instead of being boy crazy, Kat is more just regular crazy. How do you go from doing Zoey 101, having such thorough characters, and move on to a new show, make the characters worse, but the overall production better? It's just so weird. Chase is like a really bad Robbie and Andre combined. Like, he's loyal and caring, but he's wacky and quirky and like to a fault. And I feel like if Robbie got more plot lines like Chase from Zoey 101, he would be a lot better of a character. But it just feels like an ensemble piece in Victorious. And they're coming from the same place, like it's a main character-driven show. So why do the characters have to be worse? Trina convinces Tori to join Hollywood Arts, which is supposed to be a really sweet moment. Kind of like how Dustin and Zoey have a little resolve with their gender differences, but it's quickly dismissed when we reveal that Trina actually wants it for selfish reasons. The show kind of reminds me of like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, like all negative characters, and I never realized how negative they got until I compared it to Zoey 101, a show that's like kind of like a less evolved version of it. Like, I feel like Victorious is like, oh, imagine the Zoey 101 writers can do whatever they want on a TV show. You don't have to worry about being smart or structured, like just go off and do your own creative best. And Victorious is wacky and it's admirable at some points, but I feel like Zoey 101 fits in the structure and makes it actually worth watching. These two shows are so much more alike than I ever thought. Oh my gosh, can you imagine like a crossover? Well, I mean, Victoria Justice being on Zoey 101 really does take you out of it, but we had to look at this like from an outside perspective. So we've talked before about iCarly and Hannah Montana specifically overlapping plot lines. Both of them have shows that deal with the main characters dealing with fame. Each of them have a trio. With iCarly, it's Freddie, Sam, and Carly, and Hannah Montana, it's Miley, Oliver, and Lily. While iCarly requires all of the three to be in sync to do their web show, Hannah Montana is more about Miley with Oliver and Lily being supporting characters. But both of these episodes have a lot in common. They both focus on the female best friend, which in this case is Sam and Lily, having a new boyfriend, which is Luke and Jonah. Each of them fall for this guy, become blind to a point where they don't realize that there's issues going on, like cheating, and then end in a revelation thanks to their friends. I definitely think these shows are different enough to tackle it in their own ways, but let's dive into how they did it. Let's start with Hannah Montana. Lily is dating a boy named Lucas, and at first Miley couldn't be happier for her, but she does eventually feel like a third wheel and gets sick of the two of them being together all the time. Like that normal middle school relationship you have in 7th grade.
I made you a mix CD to celebrate the 9 days we spent together.
It's right there. Next to the pepper.
The soundtrack of our love.
Yeah, those were the times. But they're in 9th grade, so this is kind of more inappropriate. After telling Lily of her displeasure, Lily decides to have a sleepover with Miley, but Lucas is invited as well. So Lily makes up for it by...
That's a cute outfit, but it looks like you're about to go out with Lucas.
setting Miley up with Lucas's good-looking cousin Derek Hansen, who looks surprisingly similar to Elvis Presley. Miley is at first excited, but while they're all watching a horror movie, Derek gets freaked out super easily, much to Miley's annoyance. He even eventually jumps onto her lap, and Miley calls it the worst date of her life.
It's in there. Something's in there. There's something in there.
You didn't know we were having a party?
Next day, Miley sees Lucas kissing another girl, which is really crazy because it's like, why would you cheat on somebody in public at the same high school that you're also going to your current girlfriend? I just don't understand the logic there. Miley tries to prove to Lily that her new boyfriend is a cheater. Lily doesn't believe it, thinking that Miley is just jealous. Miley tries to prove to Lily that her new boyfriend is cheating on her and flirts with Lucas so he'll cheat on Lily with her.
Shh, no. Don't speak. Just kiss me. No, I'll kiss you.
Oh, okay, well.
When that doesn't work, she dresses up as Hannah Montana and attends a restaurant with Lily as Lola. And Lucas and Oliver happen to go to the same restaurant, and Hannah flirts with Lucas from across the room. This guy is so bad at cheating because also he's just willing to go out with somebody he knows is Lily's best friend and be kind of a snake in the middle of the date. Like, I don't understand. This guy is not being subtle at all to his cheating.
I got 2 words for you, my brother. Guy code. We are men and we are hunters. And what happens in the jungle? It stays in the jungle.
And it's kind of funny because it's like in character for Lily not to be aware of it that much. She tends to be a little airheaded. Lola still believes that he won't cheat until Lucas gets up and tries to give Hannah Montana his number.
To tell her you have a girlfriend, because, you know, you look like the kind of guy who has a girlfriend he really, really likes.
Actually, I've got 2.
Lucas still doesn't realize that the girl he's talking to is the girl he's been kissing, just with a wig on, and admits to her that he is give up Lily in an instant. Meanwhile, these fans try to get a picture with Hannah Montana, which gets in the way of Miley's thing, but it's not that big of a deal, so it's just kind of happens on the side. Realizing her best friend was telling the truth, Lola gets mad and dumps shrimp sauce on Lucas. At the end, Miley and Lily decide to make up, and next time that either of them has a boyfriend, they should trust each other no matter what. And the controlling grandmother comes over once again, mistaking Oliver for...
My goodness, it's Natalie Portman. Oh.
So Carly, Freddie, and Sam are making fun of one of their teachers when A kid from Freddy's French class comes up named Jonah. Sam gets kind of interested in him and tells Carly by telling Freddy to just walk away, which is kind of disrespectful. Carly tells Freddy that he should tell Jonah to ask Sam out, but he says he hasn't done anything bad to me, which is kind of funny. So he does. He ends up telling Jonah that Sam likes him, and he looks interested. Meanwhile, Spencer's making some claymation thing, which is a kind of cool concept. Sam gets a phone call, which is Jonah asking her out. She's super excited, and everything is good. Next thing you know, they are inseparable. Jonah and Sam are dating, and sounds a lot like the Hannah Montana episode at this point. Soon their relationship even begins to affect iCarly, with Sam texting during rehearsals, and Carly and Freddy getting super fed up with it. Carly tries to have a talk with Sam, but she's obviously way too into Jonah. Next thing you know, she brings Jonah to rehearsals. He keeps laughing at everything Sam does, and nothing at what Carly does, which is actually kind of funny. He's super intrusive, and I hate this guy. Carly and Freddy realize they have to do something about this, because Sam is way too indifferent. So Carly decides to have a talk with Jonah, who ends up actually hitting on her. Ooh, bad guy. He says that he doesn't think Carly should ruin Sam's first love, which is a fair point, but it's very manipulative. So Carly decides not to tell her right away. She tells Freddy, with Sam overhearing. Sam's betrayed, but they go through with the webcast anyway, and Sam manages to embarrass Jonah live on stream, giving him a wedgie. And they leave him there. Oh my god. The end. There's a few differences. Like the Hannah Montana episode, we kind of start out with Lily having a boyfriend, like it doesn't actually show us how it happens, which I kind of wanted to know, like I wanted to see how that went down. And it ends up taking over her whole life, affecting her friendship with her friends, same way it did with Carly and Freddy, but in iCarly it more affected the web show rather than the personal lives, which would make them harder to approach Sam about. They each have that moment where things go way too far, like in iCarly, it's bringing him to rehearsals, and in Hannah Montana, it's their slumber party. But at least she brought Austin Butler. I don't think Carly brought Austin Butler. Nope, no she didn't. So Miley has the worst date of her life, but luckily this doesn't happen to Carly. So both boys end up being jerks with cheating, but Luke does it publicly in a school, which is so stupid, and Jonah's more subtle, only hitting on Carly when she calls him out. In Hannah Montana, Lily dates Luke well after the fact that Miley caught him cheating, which is different than the Carly episode. Lily doesn't actually believe Miley because she thinks she's just jealous, which is a really interesting conflict between the two as opposed to having the three be against Jonah. They both have the girls catching the guy red-handed. Lily catches Luke red-handed when she talks to him and he mentions that he has another girlfriend. Meanwhile, Sam actually overhears Carly and Freddy, which trust their friends more. Overall, both episodes feel very parallel to one another, covering the idea that teenagers can be so blind to love that they somehow neglect their personal lives, which is very relatable and I definitely feel relevant to tweenage issues. The shows were both super funny at the way they tackled it. The characters that were cheating were kind of funny, and the situations they got in to discover why each were cheating is also really funny. So they both did a really good job in their own unique ways. I personally think iCarly did a little bit better of a job here because it had more camaraderie between the three and being against Jonah, having all three people actively participating in this as opposed to Oliver, who kinda is standoffish and just comedic relief, and it exaggerates different moments than the iCarlys did. Like, I'd rather have seen Lily fall for Luke to kind of get hints that he was a cheater. Like, when he talks to Freddy, it seems pretty suspicious that he is, like, not morally normal. The difference is that, like, this happened in season 2 of Hannah Montana after all the characters were established, and we didn't really need to hone in so much on those moments. Meanwhile, iCarly was in its first season, still taking itself seriously, not being wacky as it would get after the April Fool's episode, and incorporating the web show, as opposed to Hannah Montana, which didn't really incorporate Hannah Montana as much, except for the fact that Lily had to be Lola in order to hear the information. But iCarly was more weaved into the central plot. Therefore, I'm giving it to iCarly. I know I love Hannah Montana, but this one was a really specific case And I had more fun watching the iCarly one, but that was a really close call. I definitely feel like it was hard to choose between. Remember that trope in teen shows where the main character falls in love with one of their close friends? It's all too common. Not only are Nickelodeon and Disney Channel different with their live-action sitcoms, they're even different the way they approach relationships, especially in their teen shows. And I want to break down the most infamous couples on the most popular shows on both channels. Yes, it's exactly who you're thinking. iCarly with Sam and Freddie, and Hannah Montana with Lily and Oliver. It wasn't until I started making these retrospectives that I realized how closely Hannah Montana and iCarly coincided, but I was missing something that was right in front of me: the relationships. Both of these shows had their main friend group's characters fall in love. They managed to make it so different, but the same at the same time. On Hannah Montana, Lily is Miley's best friend. She's a girly girl, but also a skater girl. Oliver is a feminine goofball that just happens to fit in with the group. Meanwhile, on iCarly, we have Sam, who is this aggressive jokester, and Freddie, the guy who's just trying to fit in the friend group. So I wanted to take the two most pivotal episodes where we kind of see the couples at their peaks and kind of compare and contrast their relationships. We got Hannah Montana's What I Don't Like About You and iCarly's I Date Sam and Freddie. Let's break down the two episodes and kind of talk about it. Let's start with iCarly. So iCarly starts with Sam and Freddie in an argument. This newly together couple are trying to figure out how to get along. One is super aggressive and one is super passive. So obviously that's the first argument. Sam apparently is standing up to his mom for him, and he's basically like, you don't have to do that.
Sam, Freddie should be able to complain about people to you without worrying that you're gonna put them in a hospital.
I guess.
And Freddie, even though it's a little extreme to violate a man with bees, you should at least appreciate that Sam did it because she cares about you.
The two had a lot of tension as friends, and it seems like they didn't change their characters at all to fit the relationship, which I kind of like. I like that they are true to themselves as characters, but that also shows that they really haven't grown at all, and that's something that concerns me. Like, at least Oliver and Lily had their relationship impact them a little bit more. There's a B-plot where Spencer is apparently cutting grass that he put in the house, which is nuts at this point. And Gibby is trying to establish a B-plot with Carly by getting a puppy.
Why'd you call me his mommy?
Well, you know, Sam and Freddie are always hanging out together now.
Yeah?
And that means you and I are gonna have more time. Just the two of us.
Yeah?
So I figure sharing a dog will give us something to talk about.
No.
Meanwhile, Freddie and Sam keep coming at Carly with a new problem.
Pay the man.
No! What cup is worth 36 bucks? That's Jamaican plastic. Forget it.
I can't believe you're being so cheap.
They even go as far as to wake her up in the middle of the night to settle a dispute between the two. Which is kind of like me and YouTube. I'm always settling disputes. The next day, they're ready to film iCarly, and Freddie and Sam are actually in a good mood. It's positive at first, then live on the web show, they have a disagreement.
I thought we were doing the boob up bit first.
No, we decided to do the adult diaper bit first.
You never think I'm right.
You never respect my opinion.
Which is super funny. It's like the internet culture of like seeing a little bit too much, which is kind of fun. I like that it interrupts the web show. It shows that it's such a problem that it actually bleeds into her real life, which the Hannah Montana episode doesn't really do. So Freddie and Sam actually attempt to go on a date themselves, but they bring Carly and have her sit at the back of the restaurant.
Freddie, it's not nice to judge other people's cheese habits. Sam, that's an insane amount of cheese. It embarrasses me.
She has a bad time, like people start coming up to her, and eventually they argue once again. It's really clear that this is not gonna work. Like, they argue so much, it's like not healthy. Like, these people shouldn't need an outside party in order to date. Like, that's ridiculous.
Seriously, why don't you two just pick up your forks and use them to jab each other in the eyes?
And this is a lot more extreme than the Hannah Montana one, I would say. The lengths they go to insult each other, and it only takes Carly yelling at them and standing up to them for them to finally realize that maybe it's a little too much.
I deserve this lasagna.
The episode ends there, and the relationship kind of goes on past this episode, but I do feel like this is primarily the episode in which was copied to the Hannah Montana one. Now let's switch to Hannah Montana for a second. So we start the episode with Hannah Montana coming back from her newest movie, Indiana Jones, and it's this really obvious parody of Indiana Jones, but it's funny watching her outtakes. Miley's returning home from this long vacation, hoping that nothing's changed, only to leave the room and see that Lily and Oliver kiss. Oh my gosh, what? We jump into hearing them talk about why they need to keep it a secret from her and that she wouldn't really understand right away, and Oliver has a couple funny lines here.
You know, sometimes I could say things like, ooh, doesn't Lily look cute today? And, you know, another time you could be like, wow, I've never really noticed it, but Oliver looks like a Greek god, or...
Miley confronts them at the beach, saying that she knows what happened because obviously it was in their living room.
You guys should date. And then not tell me about it.
I think she knows.
And they pretty much admit to it right away. See, this is where it's a little bit different than iCarly. Like, iCarly happened over the course of a couple episodes, but Miley found out they're together, already are approaching them about it, and this actually leads into the disagreement.
So seriously, you think Radiohead is better than Coldplay?
Radio play, cold head. The main thing is, you guys are together, right?
It doesn't seem like they as a couple argue or disagree too much. It's almost like this is one really specific scenario. And in this scenario, basically they argue over Radiohead versus Coldplay, like which song did they dance to, which leads to them arguing about their first date and even more.
If you like Coldplay so much, they should be your girlfriend. You could take them skating and then not remember it!
I'll take them skating and not remember it. You know what? Who's 12 now?
And they even break up pretty much right then and there on the beach, which this is what should have happened with Freddie and Sam. Like, theirs is so dysfunctional, it's almost like distasteful. Like, you feel guilty for watching them be together and happy about it. Where at least Lily and Oliver, you're like, okay, I could see why they should be together.
Because you're obviously wrong.
I'll tell you what's wrong. When I picked you as a boyfriend.
Oh.
You guys, please stop fighting. This is ridiculous.
Miley is insistent that if they're going to argue, they better come back to her by the time they're done. So she sits on the beach until midnight. Robbie actually even gives her a blanket because that's how long she's been there. Throughout the episode, she constantly asks Robbie for advice through metaphor of his sandwich.
And the tomato decided that they should be together. Oh, I love you, Bacon Pop. Yes, I love you too, Tomato Pop.
And then the lettuce decided to finally come back home, and they start arguing. Oh, bacon. Oh, tomato. Oh, no. And then I'm the lettuce, I get in the middle.
And keeps destroying it every chance she gets. And this is the part that's the most like iCarly. So Lily and Oliver are sitting on separate tables at the beach, insisting Miley chooses them as her best friend. She goes to Lily first and says that she chose her, but should probably apologize to Oliver because he deserves at least that. Then she goes to Oliver and says that she chose him and was just apologizing to her about it because she deserves that.
Wow. You really did pick me, over your best girlfriend? Man. I must be awesome.
So she basically told both of them that she's choosing them over one another. Meanwhile, the subplot is Jackson trying to get into college. He wants to go to Santa Barbara, so he has this interview that's about to happen at the house. So to look really good, he tries to make it look like he started a nonprofit for children, which is very specific. I would kind of believe that. Cheryl Hines is a guest star in this episode, and she comes to interview Jackson. Robbie has a guilt talk with him to make sure that he doesn't actually go through with it, and it works. Jackson admits to the woman that he's been lying about all his good deeds, and she's basically like, yeah, you're not getting into college. Like, you expect them to be like, okay, yeah, you're honest, you could definitely do it, but that didn't happen in this one. Later, she asks Oliver to come over, and we're still not really sure what her plan is, until they both show up into Miley's house.
What are you doing here? She chose me! Miley!
She's dressed as Indiana Jones, and I'm uncomfortable. So she plays a video with her playing both of these parts, Lily and Oliver, and showing their argument and why it was like so petty.
Yeah, her hair smelled like apples. I like apple.
And it's really disturbing to see Miley in these parts. Like, one, as a blonde, that's not Hannah, and two, as Oliver. Don't need to say more than that. This allows them to realize how stupid they've been acting and how important their friendship and relationship is, so they get back together. Unlike Carly's that ended up in a big blowout and her leaving the restaurant with no resolve.
I'm sorry.
Me too.
I missed you, Lollipop.
I missed you too, Lily-Pop.
There's tension in both of the friend groups, with Lily and Oliver commonly disagreeing, getting into arguments, that brother-sister dynamic, and I definitely see that in iCarly with Freddie and Sam. The only difference, Freddie and Sam would never make a good match, because as friends they are so unhealthy. Unlike Hannah Montana, where at least they usually come to a resolution and it's not just one bullying the other. It's similar in the sense that she does shame them, like Carly's basically like, well then you shouldn't be dating at all, and then they realize they should be dating, which is kind of a lackluster ending for that one. Miley actually takes like a positive approach for it, which I think is a little bit more fair. But yeah, it's hard to deny that these episodes aren't super similar. The Hannah Montana episode was released on April 19th, 2009, with iCarly being 2 years later, September 10th, 2011. Therefore, we know who logically went first. We know who factually came first. But yeah, overall, I don't know why iCarly and Hannah Montana overlap so much. Maybe it's just the idea of popularity and fame coming into your social personal life as a teenager. And I guess already doing a teenager show, you're bound to overlap plots just in dating, miscommunications, fights with parents. So I guess it is inevitable that they cross over a lot. If anything, maybe they should have crossed over more, or made an official crossover. No. That would be breaking some cardinal sin that says networks can't cross over. But otherwise, like, what did you guys think? Does it feel like these are essentially borrowing the same plot, or are they different enough to make it fair? I personally think that they are different enough, and I just like comparing and contrasting them because it's like so uncanny that these two shows just happen to be doing the same exact plot. Isn't it so weird to think about the premises both being the main character as the third wheel to their best friend's relationship? And I love seeing how both characters deal with it completely differently. In I Date a Bad Boy, Carly was very shallow in getting over Griffin because of his Beanie Baby collection, while Miley developed a real crush and was just choosing between them. Here, they're given both the same scenario where their best friends are dating, and they both deal with it completely different. Miley comes from a more genuine place because it seems like she's focused on getting them to a healthier place, while Carly is just focused on trying to get them to not fight. Overall, while the iCarly episode is really funny, it doesn't have a resolution. Freddie and Sam seem to argue about everything, which is kind of the issue in their relationship. That makes it really hard to form a bond. While Lily and Oliver only really disagree on one thing, and that's what comes between them. You have a lot more hope for Lily and Oliver because once they get over this slump, it's going to be a while before they get another obstacle, while Freddie and Sam deal with obstacles all the time. And is that fun to deal with? Not really. Suddenly, Carly is not fixing their relationship for the sake of caring about her friends. She's fixing it for the inconveniences of the people around them. Also, Lily and Oliver date successfully throughout the rest of the series, having a lot of more important moments between each other. They overcome a lot of their disagreements and become stronger as a couple, while Sam and Freddie, spoiler alert, don't really last that long and continue to argue the rest of the time. But yeah, overall, they're both really funny episodes, but this is when iCarly starts to take a downturn in the quality of its show, while Hannah Montana is just getting better from here on out. So I think objectively, the Hannah Montana one does it a lot better. Don't you sometimes feel like TV shows basically copy plots and paste them in different TV shows? Because that's kind of how I feel about iCarly and Hannah Montana in this one instance. And who is this poor actor playing the exact same role on two separate teen TV channels? Yeah, he could be the one, is essentially the same episode as I Date a Bad Boy from iCarly. Is iCarly ripping off Hannah Montana, or is Hannah Montana ripping off iCarly? So when He Could Be the One came out on Disney Channel, the promotions really hyped it up because we saw that Brooke Shields and Cody Lindley would be in this episode again. And Cody Lindley is the guy who plays Jake Ryan, and Brooke Shields plays Miley's mom. Definitely a cool reason to find these two characters to come together when Miley has to make a really intense decision about who she wants to be with. Miley tries but fails to tell her dad that she's dating Jake Ryan again, so Robbie winds up believing that she's hiding something from him. To make her father thankful for Jake, she pretends that, like her bad boy bandmate, Jesse, but gets in over her head and she starts to actually develop feelings for Jesse. The first episode is more focused on Miley's relationship with her dad and Jake Ryan being this big issue in their relationship. And there's that whole bad boy trope where it's like, of course you don't want your daughter being with a bad boy, but then the fact that she actually falls for him just shows like her age and immaturity. Like, of course that changes a lot of things. In the end, she tells Jesse that there's just something between her and Jake that's special, and the episode kind of ends with her dad accepting it, and we move on to Miley's real issue, which is choosing between Jake and Jesse. It already feels a little episodic by the end of the first part because of the fact that everything with Robbie Ray was resolved. It makes it seem like the momentum didn't necessarily build, and even though we kind of foreshadowed something that's going to be more important in the second episode, it still feels like two standalone episodes that just had a recurring plot or idea. It doesn't feel like it necessarily had to be a two-part episode so far. But then again, like, this was exciting because Brooke Shields was going to be a part of it and Cody Lindley, but I want to believe that it's not just a gimmick that they're doing a two-part episode, and it's actually really for a good storytelling reason. In the second part, she's trying to decide between Jesse and Jake, and it's really complicated, and some of the best songs are used in this because the third Hannah Montana album is definitely one of my favorites, so I love listening to the song. Miley and Jesse share a moment, and then Miley and Jake share another moment, and it just becomes harder and harder for Miley to make a decision between the two people she has a history with. I mean, she barely has a history with Jesse, but you know what I mean. She sits on her back deck in the most famous scene that's in all the promos as she's looking at two pictures of the boys, which, why do you have two pictures of teenage boys in your room, Miley? I knew you were like lovesick, but not this much. Robbie offers her comforting advice, which kind of brings us back to the first part, which feels a little bit more conclusive. I like that it's called back from the first episode, makes it feel more necessary. Miley seeks advice from her mom and is able to actually make a decision. Miley ends up telling Jesse that she chooses Jake because of how much they have together and how special it is. Robbie accepts their relationship after confirming with Miley that she made the right choice, and it's up to her instead, which is a really good plot for a teenager episode. Like, I definitely feel like the stakes were high enough. The Jackson and Rico have a dance number this entire episode and keep coming back at really random parts of it, which is, I'm kind of here for it, although it does feel like, especially with summarizing the plot, that this is used just to fill up time. These shows should really use the 40 minutes super cautiously, and I wish they spent their time with it a little more. Jake has so far returned in every season, this being the third time, so at this point we know it's going to be a consistent thing. This is the first episode with the character Jesse, which is kind of weird because he's also Griffin in the iCarly episode, in a very, very similar like plot. It's a little bit hard for me to respect this specific double episode. I definitely think Achy Jakey Heart was a little stronger despite the fact that that was broken up and this one wasn't. But you could tell why they tried to make it one part, because it's like very clear that this is one plot line going on for too long and not a lot changed and not a lot of momentum built until actually Miley has that final decision of choosing one of them. But there isn't necessarily like a lot of time with Jesse or even like a lot of time with Jake. I feel like Jake has only had like 4 or 5 episodes at this point. I mean, I do feel like that's more than most shows would be to develop a relationship with teens, and especially being like these shows are usually 60-90 episodes, so of course 5 episodes is actually a bigger chunk than normal. That would essentially be the equivalent to 20 episodes in a larger sitcom like The Big Bang Theory or any of these other shows.
Okay, let's talk about iCarly, I Date a Bad Boy.
It surprisingly shares the same thing with Hannah Montana, where they aired as 2 different episodes in other countries, but here was promoted as a TV movie or one specific episode that lasted an hour. So Spencer's motorcycle gets stolen by a new boy in building named Griffin. Carly strongly dislikes him, and Spencer takes Griffin under his wing. Much to her dismay, in a short time span, she grows to like him and actually kisses him. After Spencer walks in on them kissing, he grounds iCarly for till college. Carly deceives Spencer and tries to see Griffin at any time possible. Eventually, he gives his blessing and allows them to see each other. This whole first episode is very similar to the Hannah Montana one, where it's both Billy Ray and Spencer disapproving of Carly and Miley going out with this one specific actor. If I were this specific actor, I would honestly be a little offended that every show I went to, where the parental figures hated me. Both Carly and Miley look down on them as their bad boys, and I think that's very interesting because, of course, you have to have the main character not be that shallow, and yet somehow both of them still fall for him. iCarly is a much more grounded version of the Hannah Montana situation, which makes me think that the Hannah Montana episode didn't necessarily need to be a Hannah Montana episode. Like, I Date a Bad Boy is almost more fitting in iCarly's universe because she has a little bit more grounded issues, and Hannah Montana is focused on this double life, and that doesn't necessarily come up in this. both Miley and Carly's relationships with their parental figure is usually very respectful. Like, they don't tend to act out much, and this is actually a really specific scenario where we see them disapprove, which we don't really see much. Then we get the second episode where Griffin invites Carly to his house, and she's shocked to learn that he collects and obsesses over Pee-wee babies. So this is really weird because, of course, this is what turns Carly off to him, and she basically doesn't like him anymore. I don't know, that's a little shallow to me. Suddenly, Spencer's issue is completely gone, and Carly doesn't care about his opinion anymore. And it doesn't seem like Spencer cares either. Same thing with Billy Ray. It seems like both episodes completely dropped the parental figure disapproving pretty quickly, which I wish that went on to the second episode, because why else would you guys do a two-parter if the episode plots don't immediately go to the next? When Carly attempts to accept his weird hobby, she ends up laughing about it with Sam, and Griffin overhears and asks if she wants to break up because she is unable to respond. Which, yeah, Griffin, I would take that for sure. You know what? The only difference between this guy and the guy from Hannah Montana is the name change. Jesse and Griffin. I mean, honestly, like, I don't know why Jesse's a stereotypical bad boy name and Griffin isn't necessarily that. It also kind of reminds me of that Big Time Rush episode where one of them has to be a bad boy. They're not super closely aligned with each other, but it's still funny that in this era, bad boys were a term that people kind of clung to. And I feel like I don't really hear that as much, where people are like, oh, like, he's a bad boy, or people disapprove of bad boys. But Carly clearly breaks this trope when Griffin turns out to have beanie babies, meaning that he's sensitive, caring, and could have these positive qualities, and obviously that's a big turnoff to her and Sam. I feel like the term bad boy comes in with somebody who is not caring, emotionally distant, unable to receive criticism, and just all around inconsiderate, which makes me surprised why girls want to be with them. It's almost the objectification that we could fit guys into one stereotype where it's like, oh, they don't want to get married, they don't want commitment, they don't want this, and then we put them under the title of bad boy. This really bothers me because it's like, I don't want to kind of give the next generation insight onto like, oh, you want to date somebody that either isn't approved by your parents, or I don't know, this is just a weird trope, but it is honest to the time. I feel like people saw being a bad boy as this elusive way of life that was really attractive. God, what the heck is wrong with my generation? I like Hannah Montana a little bit better in this sense because it's more about her choosing between Jesse and Jake as opposed to dating a bad boy in general. I mean, at least the second half is a little bit like that. The second half of both episodes really veer off to be their own thing, which I appreciate because the shows shouldn't be so closely aligned, but I still can't forgive that first part. With Hannah Montana, it's about her choosing between the guy she's really liked all this time and this new bad boy, which is a lot more interesting because I feel like if Carly were to choose between a sensitive guy with stuffed animals versus this guy Griffin, then the conversation would have a lot more depth to it. I like that Miley views these as two separate people and sees the positive traits in both of them, and that's just another example of when Disney Channel takes less cynical approaches to their sitcoms. I mean, we've had episodes where Miley really didn't want to be with somebody because they're too short or they're too this, like, so it definitely is within Miley's character to have those flaws when it comes to dating guys, but I like that she is genuinely trying to choose Griffin or Jake, and it's not, oh, she's trying to get over one and get to the other one. I feel like it makes the character a little bit more redeemable. It makes me look like down on Carly a little bit. I mean, come on, Carly, that's like so shallow. Like, it's one thing to have started out shallow and then changed your mind, but this is like kind of, you know, like you're not growing. Clearly you're retracting in your personality. The two subplots in the iCarly episode is one that Sam asks Freddie to make a website for her in order to put up all these disgusting videos she collected, which she does, and Sam ends up selling the website and makes $1,000. And then, of course, the second episode completely does a separate story where Sam is giving a recurring nightmare where a monster eats her soup and Spencer tries to help her get over her fear. See, these could have been done in every episode. I feel like if it comes to the double episode plot in general, Hannah Montana is gonna beat this out. And when it comes to the character development, I also think Hannah Montana is gonna beat this out. Then we got Drew Roy. Drew Roy is the guy who plays Jesse and Griffin. Right now, he's 38. He's a Taurus. I don't know if that matters to any of you guys. But he appeared mostly in independent projects until he landed Griffin on I Date a Bad Boy. He was 23 at the time of I Date a Bad Boy coming out and 7 years older than Miranda Cosgrove. And he's 6 years older than Miley Cyrus. I didn't realize Miley and Carly were literally almost the same age at the time of both of these episodes, but it looks like it's a really good breakout for this actor. Thank you guys so much for watching. Overall, iCarly came first, so I can only really give more credit to that, because Hannah Montana did come second, and the plot was less natural to its show.
But also, like, there's so many times this happens, like, Disney's been first, Nickelodeon's been first. The only real difference between these shows are the characters in the shows, and I definitely think they distinguish the plots and really make it their own. Props to Drew, Roy.
Where did you get a picture of Chase wearing a wedding dress? I didn't. I took his head and photodoctored onto some girl's body.
Remember when I told you guys that no Disney Channel or Nickelodeon show has ever repeated the same storyline in its existence? Oh wait, of course I didn't, because that's not true! Another classic compilation of all the shows doing the same plot, and this time it's fun. It's the election episodes. We love it when we see the main characters pit against each other, running for a position of power. They all take place in the school, they all experience bribery, and they all try to defame each other. Yeah, these episodes are handpicked because they're my favorites. A couple notable exclusions we're not going to get into is the That's So Raven election episode, the Wizards election episode. I just wanted to focus on these three specific, because they all do something different. First we'll have Zoey 101, and then we'll jump to a cartoon for Jimmy Neutron, and then we'll end on the sweet life of Zack and Cody. So let's get into it! So yeah, you could see a lot of similarities in all these election-based episodes. It's kind of a commentary on politics, and how we're more likely to choose people that we like, as opposed to somebody we agree with, when it comes to competitions like this. So for Zoey 101 Season 2 Episode 3, we have elections. So Zoey's trying to get coffee, and Lola rudely just takes it from her, which is kind of disrespectful. We see that Nicole's doing horoscope stuff, which I love, because I'm a big astrology guy.
Check out your horoscope. It says you will win a major competition. Is that freaky or what? I'm not a Virgo. Shh, don't tell people.
And she takes a Capricorn's horoscope and tries to cheat it, which is so funny. I've never seen that attempted on a show. Like, but it does make me wonder what their actual signs are. We see this girl named Mel have a crush on Chase, but it just seems like a premature Stacy.
Chase, don't call me Melissa. Melissa sounds so serious. Call me Mel.
Because she has a lisp, ecstatic, and apparently a Sagittarius. I just don't know why people that are odd or different have to be the butt of the joke sometimes. Like, it's not that weird to have a lisp.
Students who wish to run must be nominated no later than...
I nominate Zoey.
Yeah, exactly. Huh? What makes you think I second Zoey's nomination?
So the class ends up nominating Zoey to run for class president, which, why? Zoey doesn't do anything for society. I don't know why she would be the one considered for this position. She's just complaining about how much she does for other people and doesn't even actually do anything for other people. Like, I don't know why you want that. She retaliates by nominating Chase, and everybody goes for that too. So next thing you know, they're going against each other for class president. Zoey and Chase make a pact that no matter what happens in this election, that they will maintain their friendship.
Deal. Spit shake.
Gross.
What, girls don't spit shake?
Not really.
Which I can already tell is going to be the main plot point. But then a teacher comes in and shakes his hand anyway, which is gross. Meanwhile, the girls help Zoey run, and I assume the boys are going to help Chase. Lola already wants to fight dirty by using a picture of Chase in a wedding dress, which is so funny. Like,
okay, where did you get a picture of Chase wearing a wedding dress? I didn't. I took his head and photodoctored onto some girl's body.
They did not have the technology to have that kind of Photoshop back then. And apparently, Mark is also running, and Quinn is trying to get him to win. His last name is revealed, and Quinn says it's Of the Figs, which is kind of funny.
Vote for me, I'll make things better. Vote for me, I'll make things better. Vote for me, I'll make things better.
Logan emphasizes that girls don't like it if you lose, so he tells Chase if he doesn't win, she won't like him. Okay, so there's a lot of stakes for him. Meanwhile, Quinn is getting data from the election, and Zoey and Chase are tied, but she's pretty depressed that Mark isn't up there at all. The girls see that Chase is giving out free smoothies, and they get super angry, until they learn that Logan's the one doing it for him. But I guess Zoey doesn't care anyway. She gets mad at Chase for something he has no control over.
That's how you plan to win the election, by giving out free smoothies?
I just heard about this.
He just heard.
Well, I don't think it's very fair.
Neither do I, which is why I'm gonna go put a stop to this right now.
Logan even ignores their request, and the campus ends up liking Chase more. So Zoey does let it affect their friendship, and she's angry at Chase. The boys start to reflect that girls lie and they say things are okay when they're not, which is just funny because it's like, I feel like guys just don't know how to read emotions, so they just kind of get annoyed at how girls take logic and emotion with everything, while they just take logic with everything. I think guys are just resentful that they have to go out of their way to remember people have emotions, while females it just comes naturally. So Chase and Zoey actually go hard on their campaigns and run around campus, and it looks like the end of the world with how many people are running here. Every time Logan uses his money to escalate the situation, and it just gets worse and worse.
Okay, what are Chase Bucks?
Chase bucks can be redeemed for merchandise at any store or cafeteria on campus.
And how's that different from handing out cash?
Simple. Handing out cash is illegal.
He even introduces this thing called Chase Bucks, which is almost like directly giving people money, but since he says they're Chase Bucks, Zoey ends up confronting Chase in the boys' locker room, which is actually really funny. I love that they did this in this scene.
I'm out. I'm done.
What do you mean, done?
I'm just gonna drop out of this stupid race.
Oh, okay, so now you're just gonna quit and let me win?
I didn't say that.
You think the only way I can win is if you drop out.
How is this happening?
I don't know why Zoey's getting more mad though. Like, they act like they're in a couple all the time for people who don't owe that to each other. Like, neither of you said you liked each other, you're just friends, like, just run for president, make it normal. Next thing you know, a video comes out trashing Chase.
Or that he picks on little girls. Is this the kind of guy you want for class president? No!
And I feel like all these election episodes are the same, like, people are running for president and then one of them defames the other through a weird campaign video. It's just so predictable at this point. But everybody hates Zoey because clearly Chase is a victim in this scenario and people care about the victims. They think it's Logan for a second, and I think that's kind of messed up if it is, because that would take a master manipulator to pull that off. Chase admits to Zoey that he actually made the commercial, and that is the most self-deprecating character thing I've ever heard.
It wasn't right. You should be president. That's why I made the commercial.
Dangerously toxic, Chase. Like, see a therapist. Zoey gets mad again because nothing he could do is right, apparently. He doesn't even want to run for president, and she just keeps putting him on blast. Next thing you know, everybody's embarrassed to be around Zoey, like even Nicole. It feels like she got canceled completely by PCA. And Zoey doesn't even seem sad about this. Maybe it's bad acting, but she just goes about it like normal.
Can we have sushi together in a closet? I'm not eating raw fish in a closet.
Meanwhile, Chase makes a speech, and there's live news at PCA, which they're the ones in the broadcast class. I don't know why they're not the ones involved. And he basically announces that he's going to be dropping out of the race. For me, I'd be worried this makes him look even more better, but, you know, I think the episode needs to end somewhere. And this is how I know that Zoey is so hot and cold it doesn't make sense. Nicole literally says, "How cute is he?" And she doesn't even agree. She doesn't even look at him. I just don't know how to understand what she's feeling. They both apologize to each other, and Zoey drops out too, which is really sweet, and it ends on them getting revenge on Logan. Very lackluster episode, but I had fun with it.
I could not have won this election without the support of each and every one of you.
The next episode is Jimmy for President. So this is one of those classic election episodes where the main characters are running up against each other to try to get class president for the power of the entire grade. Very stereotypical of a TV show to do when they're in school. Jimmy essentially is like, "Oh, I can't wait to bring learning as a class president." And Jimmy, I would not vote for you either. You seem like you would do a lot of boring rules. And of course, Cindy and Libby are super excited to run. They finally introduce one of the best characters in the show, Bolby.
We have a new foreign exchange student joining us from Bakharistan. Please welcome Bolby Stroganovsky.
Hello, fellow learners!
A new addition to the class, who's getting made fun of for his cultural differences, which isn't really cool. He puts himself on the candidate list, along with Jimmy, Sheen, and Libby. Sheen has a really funny speech to be class president.
Ultra-large tattoos will be mandatory. Principal Willoughby, tear down your wall!
And woos over no one. Of course, Libby is the cool one, and promising things that I don't think you could legally have in a school environment.
15 minutes of funk every day. Can you handle that? Tell it, sister.
Can we afford funk every day?
And then of course Jimmy does not help his own case as he just promises educational things, which even the teachers aren't interested in.
Flashy clothes or polyrhythmic music or guacamole bars.
That's because you don't know the secret ingredient. It's love.
Bolby comes up with a dance routine, and he is immediately dismissed too. Next we have Carl as a swing voter, and everybody showing up to his house one by one trying to bribe him, and it's so funny.
And just to make sure we understand each other,
Cindy, you accidentally left $1 in my hand.
Keep it.
Why?
I think you know why.
I don't. Why are you winking at me? Why did you give me $1? My brain hurts.
Is the peak of this episode because he thinks she likes him. Sheen is just downright aggressive and not super helpful. Bowlby doesn't really say much. And Jimmy is the most rational, but obviously he's the least interesting part of this episode. Neutron tries to give Jimmy advice about being class president, and obviously it does nothing.
I was elected towel boy in junior high. What's really important is you have to give him a little razzle-dazzle. Give him a show. Kick out the jam, sock it to him, yeah?
Razzle-dazzle, huh?
Later, there's like a school fair where everybody is given a chance to woo as to why they should be president, and suddenly Jimmy goes from being nothing to an actual threat, giving everybody purple Fleur mist and candy, then finally a dance routine with himself in it. And I'm like, okay, maybe Jimmy does have a chance, but it's like, why would this benefit the school at all? In the end, it's finally time to announce the winner, and instead of going to all the usual people, Carl is intimidated by every single person.
There's more you-know-what if you vote for Libby.
It's up to him who becomes class president, which is ridiculous. He ends up choosing Bowlby, which is the only fair way to get out of this plot that the writers have driven them into. Like, who else could have won without it having to have a lasting impact on the entire series and change the episodes from now on? Like, obviously you have to have Bowlby do it. Obviously the kids can't get mad at each other because Carl didn't choose them. And that's kind of where it ends.
Okay, your president says cut the jabber and start the slapping! Slap, 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 clap, clap, clap.
I love election episodes, and I think this one did probably one of the best election episodes I've ever seen, just because it has Jimmy and his ego trying his best, but then flipping to his invention like he usually would in an episode. It has Sheen being really wacky and weird, Neutron giving advice, Carl at the center of everything, and Libby and Cindy acting aggressive. It has like all the elements that make Jimmy Neutron a really good show. The characters are so lively in these episodes, and I just love where the season is heading. So season 2, episode 7 is Election. And this is one of the more fun episodes of The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. It's funny that this is coming up because I just recently watched the election episode of Jimmy Neutron. And the trope of all the main characters kind of running for school president, trying to make changes, having their whole campaign is always a really funny premise. And Sweet Life of Zack and Cody did it even better than that.
This will soon be the presidential suite.
Is Mosby kicking us out?
No, I'm going to run for school president.
That's wonderful news.
Meh.
So it starts out at the school. Zack, Cody, and their friends are eating lunch. And finally, Allison Stoner's back. She was in a couple episodes in the first season and then just randomly in episode 7. So the elections are in 3 weeks. And Cody is like, I'm definitely going for president, and nobody else really wants to. Zack kind of entertains the idea, like, what if I ran for president? And it becomes kind of like a challenging situation where the brothers are about to take a fight into the political system of their school.
You can't be the president of the school. You don't even know where it is. Do so. It's the last stop on the bus.
Cody is like, there's no way it's gonna work. You can't run against me, and that's the beginning of it all. Next thing we know, Maddie and London are getting involved when Zack and Cody tell them, with London defending Zack for his outlandish requests, and Maddie is helping Cody because he's trying to be responsible and she respects that.
She thinks debate is what you use to catch the fish.
So this is when it gets really cool. Basically, they team up to help Zack and Cody run against each other. One by one, Zack and Cody are trying to swing votes, and Allison Stoner is voting for Zack because apparently he's going to promote her if he wins, which is exactly the political system. Somehow Zack gets signs up in the school, and it's like, how do you do that? Meanwhile, Arwen is inventing luggage carts that can drive themselves, but it goes haywire pretty quickly and even injures Mr. Mosby. So it's not just the kids who bother him, it's all the staff too. So Zack and Cody get into an argument at home about school.
You no good cheater, loser, wimp, crybaby, doof.
And I thought this election would come between you.
London and Zack kind of have a game plan.
Are you sure we're not going too far?
No. Too far would be dumping Cody on a cargo ship to South America, where he'll spend the rest of his miserable life working in the copper mines.
You've done this before?
When it's time for speeches, London and Maddie are still arguing at this middle school. I don't know why they came all the way from their high school. It's time for like the first debate. Bob is also running, which is kind of random, and he has a sister, which is super funny. Zack's whole plan is to use an embarrassing picture of Cody, which goes pretty far with the kids. Arwen comes, which is super funny, and helps Cody with an invention, a jetpack that would surely win over the kids. And it does. Everybody's super excited until Cody goes haywire. Oh wait, and that still doesn't ruin the chances. It's when he suggests that the school is gonna have more academics that people are like, oh no, I am not voting for him. Zack sees the whole school laugh at his brother and he feels bad, gets up on the mic and yells at them. He's like, Cody's got some good ideas.
Cody actually has some great ideas. I got nothing.
What about ice cream and skate parks?
Yeah! Like that'll happen. What, do you still believe in the tooth fairy?
And it's really sweet to see Zack stand up for his brother like this, because Cody does deserve it. And this is just a really sweet episode.
Voting for Cody!
You don't go to school here.
Oh, well, if I went to school here, I'd vote for Cody.
They each do something unique that I just have to point out. Like Zoey 101, but we can't talk about how similar they are without talking about how different they are as well. Zoey 101 takes a unique spin on it because it's more relationship based. We know that Chase has a crush on Zoey, and them going against one another would mean a lot is at stake for Chase. Therefore, when the competition gets worse, it becomes a little bit more heart-wrenching for the characters. Then of course, Jimmy Neutron being animated has a lot more freedom to do some crazy, like Jimmy coming down in a blimp, but I think the most unique thing it does is having the swing voter. Yeah, Carl Weezer being the guy it comes down to on who gets the position is just so funny. And I feel like I wish they did this in other election episodes, where it came down to one person's opinion. And then of course Sweet Life, having it be the brothers against each other and the access they have to defame one another in front of the whole class is just so funny. And Zack and Cody, you know them, like it's very in their character to do that to one another. They're not above playing dirty, and since they're family, we're curious how far they're willing to take it. The one thing they all share in common that's kind of nice is the sacrifice. When you know you're not qualified and deciding to step down from something that you may not feel ready for the right reasons. But which one was your guys' favorite? Which was your favorite that I didn't cover? I'd love to hear more about that in the comments. Both Wizards of Waverly Place and Hannah Montana have major secrets to hide. Alex Russo is a wizard on the East Coast of New York, while Miley Stewart is a pop star all the way on the West Coast. These two girls' lives are pretty much dictated by these secrets, making them one of the most integral part of their worlds. Each show's key component in its top 3 stories that are constantly told have to do with this external world. But the question I want answered is which show did it better? Without further ado, let's dive in. Let's take a look at both episodes again and kind of give them a side-by-side comparison and then check into it again. I'll call this section the evidence before we make our points. So every Hannah Montana episode title references a song, like Lily, Do You Want to Know a Secret is a play on the Beatles song, Do You Want to Know a Secret? Okay, Miley Stewart's best friend, Lily Truscott, buys 2 tickets to see a Hannah Montana concert for her and Miley. Because Miley's secret is Hannah Montana, she says she can't go. So at the concert that night, Lily and Oliver end up actually sneaking into Hannah Montana's dressing room.
Get out of here right now or I'll call security!
Wait, no, I'm sorry. I was just looking for a souvenir. My name's Lily Truscott, and I'm a huge fan.
And she finds out that Miley is Hannah Montana.
Aren't you gonna get that?
No. I'm talking to you. That would be rude.
Miley then explains to her why she did not tell her and then shows her the Hannah closet. However, when Lily tries to convince Miley she should tell her secret at school, Miley thinks it's a terrible idea. And that kind of gets them into a big fight.
Everything I was afraid that would happen, happened.
So episode 2, Miley Get Your Gum, and the episode title's a play on the song Annie Get Your Gun by Squeeze, is basically Lily knows Miley's secret and Oliver still doesn't, which he tells her that he loves Hannah.
Deep down, maybe, just maybe, you feel the same way.
Miley and Lily actually try to get him to turn his attention to other girls because Miley is worried that if she told him the truth, he'd be in love with her too. So the girls come up with a plan to get him to hate Hannah. Oliver and Hannah meet at the Malibu beach and she chews gum because she knows he hates it.
I totally understand if you want to transfer your obsession to Mandy Moore. You know, she's blonde again.
No.
My love is bigger than my disgust.
Even Oliver's fear wouldn't stop him from loving Hannah, so in a last-ditch effort, Hannah ends up chewing black licorice gum, even so far as blowing a large bubble which pops in his face, which is kind of gross. And in desperation, Miley pulls off the wig and shows him her identity. Oliver faints in shock. When he wakes up, he accepts Miley's secret and wants to be just friends, which is exactly everything everybody wanted at the beginning.
Okay, now we got Harper Knows, the moment we've all been waiting for, guys. This episode is really important, unlike episodes in the past. It's Harper's birthday, and it means a lot for her to ask Alex to come PopCon to help her with her outfit, but Alex really doesn't want to.
Popcorn's in town? Hey, Teresa, Popcorn's in town.
Popcorn's in town? Oh.
Popcorn is in town?
Popcorn's in town?
These two guys that came in the first season that represent the Wizard Council tells the Russos that they need to be aware there's an emergency and wizards are using their powers all willy-nilly, so the Russos need to go there to stop it, I guess?
Young wizards love PopCon because they blend in with all the other costume geeks and weirdos.
Thank you.
Alex tells the group that she can't help because if Harper sees her there, she's gonna know she didn't want to celebrate her birthday. Fun reason to go to this convention and get these characters here. That's really good from a writing standpoint. Immediately they run into Harper at WizCon and Alex needs to start to hide. So she goes behind a cardboard cutout and uses her powers to switch outfits. That's when Justin announces that Alex is one of the wizards that are using powers at WizCon.
Because I suspected you all along. We're gonna need that costume for evidence.
It's all yours.
Alex uses magic to escape, only making the situation harder because now she's not only hiding from Justin, Hugh, and Harper, but she's caught by the Wizard Council.
So you're in complete violation of Wizard Conduct Code 99244. Oh, you're in pajamas. 245.
Alex is caught by Harper just as she's about to get in trouble, and Harper demands an explanation. But since Alex can't tell her they're wizards, Harper just assumes it's the end of their friendship.
Jeremy from science, but I'm not with him.
Jeremy from science? Is there even a Jeremy in science?
Of course there is. He has a huge crush on you.
Well, hello, Jeremy from science. Your costume doesn't look store-bought.
This goblin is suspiciously not quick enough to disparage her comments, but I think it's just genuinely because he doesn't know what to say.
So you helped Jeremy with his costume, but you refuse to help me, your best friend, with mine?
Harper's costume gets mixed up with the charmed version because of Alex, leading to another issue.
That's a fully loaded wizard-powered costume with superhero capabilities.
Is that a problem?
It can fly, ricochet lasers, deflect bullets, and shoot fire.
Okay, so it's a problem.
During the contest, Harper starts floating, and the wizard police are able to cover it up using ropes. Alex eventually decides that this is not enough, and she needs to tell Harper that she's a wizard.
And I would know that because I'm a wizard.
I changed my mind about the Hannah Montana episode. I definitely think it's a little bit more impactful for Alex to wait a season and a half to tell her best friend that she's kept a secret. It definitely makes the stakes a lot more higher, and Alex being so pressed to make this decision and being so thoughtful makes it seem a lot more important. At first, Harper doesn't believe her until Alex actually takes her into space.
It's lame. There's no way a stupid magic trick is gonna make me think you're a wizard.
But look at where we are.
In the end, the Russos show Harper the magic lair, while Jerry and Justin plot to erase Harper's memory using a spell. However, this doesn't end up happening. And this was really a much-needed layer to the show. I mean, it's a little more family than Hannah Montana, so of course they'll take longer. They didn't need to tell Harper so quickly, but now that Harper knows, name of the episode, there's going to be so much more stories opened up to them, like Harper needing to keep the secret. And it's really funny when the goblin pretends to be Jeremy from science. But yeah, this episode was fun because because being at a wizard con is such a funny premise, especially as wizards, tracking down the people. Wizards of Waverly Place is more of a family sitcom, therefore it's revolving around 5 or 6 of the characters. Hannah Montana is more about a coming of age following Miley Stewart. Therefore, the central plots really revolve around specifically her, not as much Billy Ray or her friends. Being a fantasy versus a regular teen sitcom, it's funny that the common trope they share is showing the best friend their secret life. Miley shows Lily her Hannah Montana closet, while Alex shows Harper the wizard lair. The thing that's interesting about the Hannah Montana one is that there's still a lot of room in the episode for this to have an impact on Lily in a negative way.
we didn't really get a chance to see Harper have a negative impact on this yet. Hannah Montana is a very intimate show about Miley and her connections, and Wizards is more about the wizarding world and how it affects their family. That will always be a factor. Hannah Montana took 2 episodes to explain to both Miley and Lily, who were Miley Stewart's best friends, that she lives a double life. Wizards of Waverly Place waits till season 2, episode 9 for Alex Russo to tell her best friend Harper that she is a wizard. But the longevity is how long it took for them to reveal the secret. And I would argue that Alex not telling Harper for as long as she did almost is kind of a negative impact on her character. Like, why did she need to take so long? But I definitely want to disparage that because of the fact that it is a family sitcom, and that's not really fair to put the two against each other in that sense. The risk for Miley is pretty big because it would change the entire course of her life and everything she's earned. However, if Alex gives away her secret, only will her whole family be exposed, but there's a chance that the entire wizarding world could be exposed. Being a fantasy show when Hannah Montana is not, it's hard to put the two next to each other. But you know what? I'm the one who chose to do it, so I'm gonna keep going. It would be funny though if they treated it the same as Hannah Montana, where in order for Harper to fit into the wizarding world, she had to dress up as a wizard and fit in the way Lily has to dress up as Lola Luftnagel. But I don't know, that's not even entertaining. Wizards kind of starts out with the advantage, having more intimate relationships at the get-go. Hannah Montana's family already isn't affected by the decisions. The thing I like about the Hannah Montana pilot is that Lily already has her own expectations of what Hannah Montana is like, giving them a very direct confrontation, which is such an exciting scene to happen, as opposed to the Wizards one, where Alex kind of brings it up out of nowhere and Harper isn't really emotionally invested until she finds out. Hannah Montana has the advantage that they had 2 episodes to talk about the impact of this secret on their lives, which is kind of weird because Wizards seems like it would be a bigger secret, so why doesn't it take more of their lives up? I don't know. But the fact that Oliver could have a crush on Hannah is such a funny trope. I wish we had Harper's opinion on Wizards before this happened, like if she was really angry by them, if she didn't believe that was a thing, and convincing him was actually hard, but we didn't really get there. Like in Hannah Montana that they actually argue over the secret. Like Lily thinks she should tell the whole school. I don't think Harper had a moment where she's like, hey, you should tell everybody you're a wizard. So the plot doesn't necessarily affect the characters long term as much as it does Hannah. Something on the Russo's side for being more impactful is the fact that it does affect the whole family. You know, Billy Ray, Jackson, Robbie, they're not affected by Hannah's issues as much as the Russos would all be affected by Alex's issues. The stakes feel a lot higher in Wizards just because everybody's affected by it. Something that bothers me about the reveal with Harper though is that it feels kind of like there was no build up to it. Like we wasted the double episode so far on saving WizTech in this season, but the episode where Harper figures out is only 1 episode and it kind of happens at the tail end of something else being its central plot. So if anything, it's a B or a C story. Meanwhile, Hannah Montana's episode is an A story, like it is the most important thing in the episode and it is what drives everything, while WizCon is the thing that drives everything in the other episode. Another thing with Wizards is the anticipation for further stories is a lot more desired. Like we've been waiting and imagining what it would be like if Harper knew, as opposed to Miley's side where Lily and Oliver know so quickly that we don't really have time to imagine what their reaction could be. Wizards does get the advantage though, having come out after Hannah Montana, because the writers were able to see how that secret landed and they probably actively were able to choose to keep it that long. I would argue for the Hannah Montana show, even if the secret's not as good, it allows Hannah Montana to dive deeper into the characters earlier than Wizards was able to. Let's talk about reason, like the reason these secrets came out. Miley Stewart seemed to not have a choice. It seemed like Lily found her out and that's why she had to come clean about it. I know she was guilty and she felt like she did need to tell her, but it wasn't necessarily her decision when it came out. And same thing with Oliver actually. She had 3 or 4 plans of ways to keep the secret before she inevitably decided, let me tell him. Alex, however, was guilty the entire time and always focused on trying to get Harper to know. If anything, Justin and her family were the only thing getting in the way of her telling. Alex's character comes from a more genuine place. So that's going to be another point for the Wizards of Waverly Place. Alright, with 3 points for Wizards and 4 points for Hannah, this declares Hannah Montana the winner. And now I know what you guys are going to say, because I'm thinking it. I'm very biased toward Hannah Montana, but these are the factual evidence, okay? I couldn't have rigged this if I wanted to. Well, I mean, I literally probably could, but you know what I mean. Which one do you guys think was more impactful, Wizards of Waverly Place or Hannah Montana? Please comment below, and don't be biased, because I already am.